This
Anybody said
conference
something.
will
Up,
now
there's
be
the record.
recorded.
All right.
All right, so last week we were finishing up chapter 12. This week we're going to go into chapter 13. So let's finish off a little bit of more chapter 12. Everything will be posted on the YouTube channel for Meetup on Wednesdays. So let's get cracking. Last week we did we talked about host files in terms of uh, remember when we're talking about networking and DNS, primarily in this case DNS, when we're talking about host files in the resolve.conf, it is to say, hey, if I put in this IP address, it's associated with this DNS name, as you see right here on the screen right here. Um, how can I get to classroom.example.com? Oh, you need to go to this IP address location. And for I think for this one, you also should look at that. Notice that content is also named content.example.com is also located at the same IP address. So if you type in content example.com or classroom, it's gonna all both resolve to the same IP address, right? So how that works is a web server running on that machine, and 9 times out of 10, if they wanted something uh, to resolve to classroom, they probably have a directory with an index.html file that has information about classroom.example.com, and then another one that has content.example.com. And the actual web server that runs on Linux and on, when I say Linux, I should say on Red Hat, is called, the package name is called HTTPD. The actual package is Apache. In If you're using Ubuntu, it's called Apache 2. When I say Apache 2, like, it is called Apache 2 Ubuntu. All right, that's what you'll find on Ubuntu. It's called Apache 2. On Linux it's HTTPD, but the package, it's a package name, but it's actually Apache. I know, it can be confusing. All right, and then okay, we talked about the resolve.conf, where you can see here they have example.com as their ending domain. So they're using that as the domain, and your search that domain. So if you typed in content, it's gonna automatically append example.com to that particular name, because it's going to use that as the search. But suppose content existed in example-2.com. Well, it wouldn't know to look there because you don't have that as part of your search criteria. And then up here, they show you here where they say, hey, a list of domains. So it could be example.2, comma, example.com, and then example-2 .com. So you could put multiple domains, multiple searches after this, or domain names for the search right here. You follow that? You can type a one, or you can say yes. It's all good. All right, cool. All right. So next up is how do we use Network Manager? Now let me say this: I have a love-hate relationship with Network Manager. Oh, I have such a love-hate relationship with Network Manager. Let me tell you why. Because with Network Manager, and hopefully it's gotten better over the years, but Network Manager was a thorn in everywhere, because you would set something up inside of the file, and let me pull this up here. Hopefully our lab environment is up, and we can hop on our workstation. um let's get logged in, student being the password, and then let's click here, and let's make this bigger. All right, I'll come down some. Let me sudo to root. All right, so if I go to etc sysconfig network dash scripts and do ls, in here I have two I have two interfaces that are configured on here. I could type IP dash A and it give me those two interfaces, right? Well, it gave me one. It didn't bring up the other one, but that's okay. We'll look at it. But as you can see here, I have ETH0 and LO for localhost. This is your loopback. You're gonna always have a loopback or a local host, if we like to call it. It's loopback, but localhost is 127.0.0.1. That's on all the machines that you have ever had. It's on your laptop. Is you're gonna even if you just type ping localhost, right? It's gonna always come back, right? You're actually pinging yourself, right? You're just getting a response from yourself. And so here we have ETA0, and I'm looking right here on the screen. ETA0, and then LO for localhost, right? And I also see that I have an IP address right here, right? I have an IP address of 172.25.250.9 with a slash 24-bit subnet, meaning that the first three octets, 172.25.250 is the network. And then the last one, was kind of free there, right? That those are the bits that I borrowed. But you also see here I also have my MAC address, as you can see, right? And I also see that I have a broadcast address where I'm broadcasting, and if I had to broadcast packets out over this network, this over this particular subnet, that would be the broadcast address. And then I also have my IPv6 information here. But the reason why I went to this directory is because in this directory, if I vim this ETH0 directory, you can see here I have my hardware address, I have my IP address that gets set, I also have my DNS that gets set. I have all my IPv6 and IPv4 configuration information. I have my UUID, and we'll talk about that a little later. I may try to squeeze that in tonight. And then we also have device ETH0, and we on boot, meaning like if I restart if I restart networking or if I restart the machine, this should come back up. And it also has the domain. We just talked about domain lab.example.com, and they also see we got another domain here, example.com, and we also have a gateway, 172.25.250.254, meaning that's how packets get in and out of this particular network, and in this case for this particular machine. Now, if I do a IP route, you'll see that I have here a default route going out to this particular gateway on this particular ETA0, this particular device. And you also see I have the device with the network with the slash 24, right? We see all of that. I also can type in and look at, let's use our up arrow and look at ETH1. I want you to notice something about ETH1. It's on boot proto. It's the boot proto is DHCP, meaning like, hey, if I reboot this, this is gonna come up on DHCP. But look here, we got boot on boot, yes, right. So whenever this come back up, ETH1 should should be up and running too. And we also have the domain and the DNS. The question was asked, does IPA differ from it is the reason why they're moving away from IP config or IP config, IF config, is because no one was maintaining it anymore. But you can still use IF config if you needed to get information, just like you can do IP space A, right? Information looks different in terms of how it's laid out, but you can still get the IP address. You can still get the MAC address and so forth. So that's really the main thing. The whoever was handling the IF config project, they were no longer updating it, so it was deprecated. So someone had to create new a new way to get to maintain getting the IP address, right? So let's clear this. Um, I kind of went over this before, but if you type in NMTUI, let me go away from that for right now. Let me do this. Red Hat, or I should say Linux TUI. The TUI stands for the text-based user interface or terminal user interface. Remember when I showed you how you can have a Linux, you can have a text web browser in Linux where you didn't have to open up a GUI web browser. You can open up what we call a text web browser. So this is the same thing. So when I type it NM2E, it's gonna give me just a text like a text user interface, and it's this text user interface is gonna be connected to changing files for me. So if I was like, hey, I'm on here. I don't want to use all that other stuff. I don't want to remember all these commands. I could just type in NMTUI and it give me the same thing. So here I want to edit a connection. I want to edit ETH0. You can see here I can come right in here. I can change the profile name. I can change all the search domains and all that stuff. All the other parameters and so forth. I could take away of it being available for users. How do you go through this? So if I hit tab and then I just hit tab and then I hit show, this is gonna show me all the actual options that I have here. Right. And I'm just using tab. Like if I go back over with my arrow and I hit enter, I could change this to automatic disable and so forth. I hit escape to get out. Um, and I just use my down arrow or my tab in order to get to where I need to do or what I want to change. And then I can just hit cancel because I'm not changing anything. And then I hit tab and the down arrow and say go back. Do I want to set the host name? Remember, I showed you before you could set the host name manually from the command line. You can set the host name from the file, and then we're gonna say okay. Yeah. All right. And then I can hit okay. Hold on. I want to quit. Let's see. Do I need to go back up here? There we go. And then hit quit, and now I'm back. And when I was talking about host name, if I cat etc host name, I can go ahead and change this file here, change the name in here. It'll show up in my NUM2E. So let's do that. So let's go here. Let's type host name. Let's just change it to workstations. All right. And then escape colon WQ exclamation is right quit. Or if I want to be fancy, I could just do control ZZ and that'll save and quit at the same time. Right. And then let's go back to our NM2E. And then let's go look at the host name and see what it's pulling. Oh, look at that. It's not even pulling from the file. Look at that. I changed the workstations. Did you see that? Let's go back and check our workstations. Let's go back and check it out. Let's see. Let's go check our host name. Yeah, workstations.lab.example.com. Why is there um a swap file there? Hmm. I don't know where it's pulling that from. All right, let's go to NMU2E. Again, this is why I go back why I say I don't like Network Manager. You starting to see the differences already. Like it's not picking up the change that I did on my file. Let's do this. Let's see if it changed um what I have. And then let's quit. And then let's cat host name. Now notice it changed it there, right? But notice that when I changed it in the text file, it didn't change it in the GUI. So now let's change this back in the text file and let's see if it picks up the change in the TUI. See, it didn't pick it up. This is why I don't like Network Manager. These little differences like this. So on the exam, if you change it in the TUI, it'll change it in the file. But if you change it in the file, that change is not going to be reflected in this TUI text user interface. Okay, everybody got that? Everybody saw that difference? I should have said it back. So that's just a FYI. All right, let's quit. All right, so that's that. So in the class, they're saying, down here. They're saying, hey, Network Manager uses DNS settings in connection with configuration files to update the etsyresolve.com. Now we know that using the TUI, something changes. So let's see if this is true for using this the NMCLI tool. All right, so use the NMCLI tool to here it looks like they're doing NMCLI. It's on YouTube under playlists under meetups. And it's also in the RHCSA channel pinned at the top where they are at on YouTube. Here it's saying, hey, connection mod the ID IPv6 and IP. So what does all that mean? All right, so let's go here and let's do a man on NMCLI. All right, so when we see it, we see connection, CON. So let's go here, right here. Here's what they're saying is connection or con for short, connection. And then they got mod, MOD. All right. So right here they have NMCLI connection, and then let's look for the word or let's look for mod. Right. All right. So let's look for mod. Um, mm, mm, did I miss it? Modify. So here, NMCLI, you could choose show, up, down, or modify. So here this reads NMCLI connection modify, and then they give the ID. What is the ID? So let's go back to here and look up modify in this case because we're using modify. And this is how you use the man pages. Oh snap, sorry, I went too fast. So here they say modify, and you have to choose whether or not it's an ID or UUID or path, right? And so here we're choosing ID, right? And then we say IPv4 DNS IP. So we're choosing to modify the IPv4 DNS and give it the IP, right? So look down here, the default behavior and in MCLI connection mod ID IPv6 IP command is to replace the previous DNS settings with the new IP list that is provided. A plus or a minus in front of this NLCLI on the IPv4 DNS option adds or removes an additional entry respectively. So here we're adding, if we put a minus in there, we're removing. And that's what they wanted to show you here. Or if you didn't want to do all of that, if you didn't want to do all of this, if you didn't want to bring the connection down or up or what have you, you could literally go to this configuration file here. The ID that they're showing here is ENS, in our case, ETH0 or ETH1. And let me show you where I got that from. We're in, okay, so CD over to network, no, sysconfig network. All right. And this ID is the ETH0 that they're talking about here. That's the ID. So we're just think about this command like this. Let's see, can I paste? Yep. So think of this command as I'm replacing their DNS with this, and I'm going to give it ETH0. That's what that means. Add that unknown connection. Oh, let's see. Do I have to do IFCFG? I don't think so. Let's see though. Huh? You don't like it, huh? So it says I connection unknown. Let's go back and look at what they say. Yeah, static ENS3. Your ID is IFCFG dash ID. My ID is ETH0. Why don't you like it? You should have liked this command here. Let me double check. Let me clear. And then let's do IPA. Yeah, so it should like that ETH0. Do I have to do ID and then that? Let me see. No, it doesn't like the word ID either. So no, I don't have to specify that. You should took that command. Unknown connection. I don't know why it's an unknown connection because that's the connection that I have. Let's see, can I do ETH1? PA, IF config. Let me see, this IF config return anything else other than a colon. So let me see something. Do I need to do a colon after that? Oh, hold on. That's too low at the screen there. You can't see that. I think I need a colon after that. Yeah, I didn't need one. I don't know why that's not working. Let's look and see. Let's do a man on NMCLI. And let's type in ID. Show ID. And then let's try that. Show device. Let's see what it thinks it is. Did not copy? Okay. NMCLI device show. The device is ETH0. The device type is Ethernet, so it should have taken that as the ID because it's basing off of this device right here. Yeah, it should have taken. Here's the other, the loop back. So it should have taken that. I can understand why they don't take ETH1. That makes sense. But unknown device, it doesn't recognize that too. Let me see. Do I need to put it in double quotes? Shouldn't. Doesn't like it. Connection show. We did that. Let's see if there's anywhere else that has an ID. Show ID. All right, so let's do clear, and let's do show ETH0. Can I type that? Well, see, it takes that. So it is that. Let's see, maybe it don't like my plus right there, but it should. Doesn't like me. Doesn't like my connection, but you can see I could put in the device that ID as ETH0 and it automatically takes it. So let's go back and look at our command one more time.
Pam, could it have to do with that IP being associated with Google?
It shouldn't because we're modifying DNS. All right, we're modifying DNS. Plus or minus character in front of the option adds or removes an individual entry. Oh, adds or removes, yeah. We want to add it. I don't think it changed, so let me do a cat on ETH0, IFCFGs, ETH0. And the DNS that they have in here right here is DNS1. All right, and it should be adding to that on there. So let's clear. Let's do that again. And then let's run the up arrow.
What if you did another IP inside that same subnet?
Let's see.
The last octet was 220.
25 to 50 Yeah, I don't like the connection device. So this right here would be a bug to me. I would actually submit this to Red Hat and ask them about this. So again, if you own the exam and this does not work, don't spend your time doing what I'm doing, trying to get it to work. Just do NMTUI and then go edit the connection. Or you can go directly to this path and then do a ls and then do a if vim or pico, whatever your favorite editor is, and go in here and just add in a DNS or change an IP or whatever the case may be. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Why that didn't work, I don't know. Here they're saying they're modifying static ENS3. So that's what I did before. I'll type this in. I grab this and we're gonna change that to why I won't Control V? No, Apple V? No, don't like me. Oh, that's because it's off. That's why. All right, so let's go here, and then let's Apple. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna change this to ETH0, and then we're gonna change this to IFCFG. Yeah, see, it doesn't like it. So I wouldn't waste all my time on that. I don't know why it doesn't like that, why it can't find those configurations. And even if I just do ETH0, it doesn't like it either. Doesn't like it either. So let's do this. Let's go to oh, here, remember we're looking at test DNS. You look locally and it's gonna return that. And I showed that. And then another way, I think they're doing away with host is being now you have to use dig. So you can dig classroom.example.com. So let's go back over here and let's clear. Let's do a dig on classroom.example.com. So you can see when you do a dig, what kind of information you're returning here, right? So we have authority section, like who answers. Um, you also have like your classroom.example.com NA. You also have um your your actual IP address that's associated with that, right? And you can look all these up. A record. So let's go down this list. So this is important right here. So this is a record, right? Meaning that this IP address is associated with this IP. I mean, this IP address is associated with this DNS name. Then we have a name server right here. And then we have more A records down here. But who knows what quad A is? All right. So what is a quad A record? It is a DNS quad A record match a domain name to an IPv6 address when connecting to IPv6. So when we go back over to our situation here, you can see right here, it was kind of self-explanatory, but you probably didn't pick that up, right? And then down here, it also shows you how long it took that query to run. And it also shows you the server on port 53 that answered, right? So let's clear and let's look at our host file. So we don't have that in there. So let's look at our resolve.conf file. So we're searching lab.example.com and example.com. Okay. So how this works is for your labs, this is how this works. So when you go to your lab, do this. It tells you on workstation, right? It tells you, remember I showed you last week that $ PS1. Remember when I say you can echo $PS1, not exclamation point, but PS1. This gives you user at host the working directory, right? So that's why you see here I'm the root user at this workstation or at workstation and the current directory I'm in. It doesn't give me the full path, but I can set it up that it does. So I just type in pwd in order to get my full path. So in here it says type this in lab start net host names. So you would type in lab start net host names. No, if I spell it right, is that host names? Did I spell it wrong? Lab start net host names. Why are we not working? Oh, I know why. I'm root. It's not set up for me. Oh, I don't have that in there anyway. Lab start net host names. So now it's going to check the system. It's going to go out and set up the lab for you. All right. So then when you set up the lab, it's telling you, hey, go over here and SSH to that server. Well, I turned on cut and paste for me. So I can just cut and paste as long as this is on right here. This is the cut this disable cut and paste. So now I can just type that down and then hit enter. And so now it's I went from workstation to server A. So now you see I'm SSH'd over to server A. My best advice, type the commands. Don't be lazy. So they say sudo dash I, and then we're gonna type student. And I know I typed it wrong. I know. And I didn't do my dash I. Oh, there we go. Boom. Student. All right. So now it says, well, let's display the host name and then display the host name status. And then we're going to set the host name, right? And that's going to change that host name file. And then it says, give us a status again, which should show the new host name. And then we're going to come down here and say, well, we're just going to type host name, test name. But remember, the contents of etc host name didn't change. We just typed it at the command line and then it changed. It didn't change the actual file. So then it says reboot the system. Well, when we reboot the system, it's going to go back to server A lab.example.com. So then because we rebooted, we log out, log back in. It gives you the host name. And now they're saying, now let's look up the IP address of this. Well, at this point, we're using host classroom example.com. What happens is it's going to look locally first in that etc host file, and then it's going to spit this out. And remember, we saw what was in that etc host file earlier. Then it says here we're going to update the host file, and we're going to put in the short name for class. So now when I type in host class, it said, oh, it can't be found. Oh, why can't it be found? Well, there's a couple of things that's going on there. Either the resolve.conf doesn't have the proper search criteria or not. So here they're saying host class cannot be found. So we have to use get int host class, right? And then it says, okay, well, ping command, and they're doing the dash C3. So let's go here. When I do a man on ping, what does dash C3 mean? So I could do ping to only work on just IPv4 or IPv6, but look right here, right here. It says ping, but only give me the count. So basically, I'm telling it to ping class 3 times. And notice that I could ping class at this point, right? 4, I could do host class. I couldn't do host class, and then I had to do this. But something tells me that it had to add example dot com to that, right? So let's go and try that now. Let's grab this without doing the steps before and see if it works. No servers are named. So guess what? We need to run this command, and we need to look up what they didn't really tell you what this command does. So we're gonna look up get int and see what it does. All right. So class, and did I need to put that in there? Oh, I did. I need to go back and put that in there. Hold on. Hosts, and let's add that line. Um, Here. and I entered, and now I'm gonna hit O to give me a new line, and then I'm gonna cut and paste that, and then I'm gonna run the get in again. Oh, you see, it takes some time. You see that? All right. You see, it took some time. It had to go out and search that. All right. So now when I do that ping C, you see that came back. All right. So what is get int host actually doing? So let's do a man on get int. All right, so let's get entries from the name server's switch library. So NSS. So basically, it's looking locally to get this information. So if we drop down here to host, it says with no key provided, use set host int, get host int, in host int to enumerate the host database. So basically, I'm building a database. When one or more key arguments are provided, pass each key to get host by IP, host by address, and get host by name, depending on whether you're calling, indicates that the key is IPv6 or IPv4 and display the results. So when we did that, we did get host class, which we put it into our host file, and then it filled the database. And then once we filled the database, then I could just type ping C3 class by the short name. So let's go back here and let's add one more thing. All right. So let's clear and then let's ping content. Oh, maybe because classroom and content probably point to each other, but let's ping uh 10 rocks. No service by that name. Okay, cool, no problem. So now let's go back to our etc host file, and I'm just gonna cut and paste that. Undo, yank, paste, and I tried to do a control E, didn't let me. So let's oh man, I didn't mean to erase it. Let's delete this. And let's put Tam Rocks here. And then let's do a get int on the host. And let's put Tam Rocks right there. All right. And now when we say ping C3 Tam Rocks, I ping. Did y'all follow what I did? I pretty much tricked it to give it a Tam Rocks a host, but I just tricked it
Yeah, you did the same thing you did for
for
the
class.
previous entry, but
Mm-hmm.
you did it with Tamrox.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's what this was about. That was the lab. So when you go in and type this right here, everything you did in the lab is going to reset. So it's going to reset the actual root. Uh, so it's going to reset back to factory settings. Did I miss something? Let's look. Lab finish net host names. Why don't you find? Oh, I know why. I'm not on workstation. I gotta go back to the to the host to where I was at. Now, if we use this up arrow and go back to server A and let me clear my screen and let's cat etc host, you can see I don't have the two entries that I had before. So it resets all the machines that are associated with that lab back to factory setting or back to lab. refresh if you want to look at it that way. All right. And now in chapter 13, this is a lab for you to do. We do tar. So we're gonna knock out 13 on next week. Come on. There you go. All right. So the goal here is to go over the tar command. Here to give you the options that you have.
Hey y'all, Tim's laptop died, but give it a moment and she'll be right back.
Thank you, D.
My bad. My laptop died. My bad. And it's funny. It's funny. It's still stuck on the same screen because that screen is no longer there. That's funny. All right, let me get it back. But anyway, tar. All right, so you're gonna use the tar command a lot often. The tar command is gonna be your friend. That's just one of those tools, kind of like um, you using um, Adobe. The tar command is gonna be your friend. All right, let me share my screen now. All right, it should update. Yeah. All right. So the tar command, like I said, it's gonna be your friend. Right here, what they were trying to show is like if I did a man on tar, they're showing you these the options that you have. So basically, they're showing you the man page right here for tar. Then when you get down here, they're saying, "Hey, what do the dash C and the dash F do?" The dash F by context should always be your last parameter, because that's going to give you the file that you're going to actually the file or files that you're going to actually put into a tar ball. So here they're saying, hey, I have the tar command. I want to create. The dash C stands for create. If you don't believe me, here it is, create an archive, right? And F stands for file. Follow this option with the archive file. Like, so if you did tar FC, that means tar dash FC, that wouldn't work because you need to follow the F needs to have a set of files or a file that follows it. So what we're saying here, hey, create a file, and then file is that create an archive that's named my backup.tar, and then put all these files into that particular tar or that particular archive. And then they did a ls and they showed that, hey, I got a file named mybackup.tar. That's what they're showing. And then here they're showing you they did it as a regular user, and now they're saying they're doing it as, you see here, they're doing it as a root user. And again, they're saying, hey, create a tar file, but put it in a path and put this whole directory in there. And they did it as root because they want to grab this directory. All right. Now here's some little attributes that you need to know about. Extend file attributes such as the ACLs or SE Linux, and you're going to get into SE Linux more in the 134 class, are not preserved by default. Use the --axttrs or --SE Linux in order to keep those particular permissions, right? Now here they're showing, well, what are the contents of it? The -T, going back up to our little handy dandy list of contents, right? We can create, we can list, and we can extract, meaning we can, just like you roll something up, you can roll it out. I roll it up into an archive, and now I expand or extract that archive, and they're showing you that. So here, um, I just want to see what the contents are. I don't want to get the I don't want to extract anything. I just want to see if it's a particular file. So I could do a tar-tf on this particular etc.tar, and I can pipe that over to grep and say grep for mtab. Oh yeah, mtab in there. Okay, well then let me untar that, right? And I could also not untar the whole thing and just grab what I want out of it, right? I can go grab what I want. So here they're saying, okay, make a directory called root etc backup, and then hop over to that directory, right? And then tar up here, type list out the contents of -t /root etc tar, and then since you're there, go ahead and extract all of that that tarball into this our made up directory. So what would that look like? So let's make a directory called Tam Rocks. And then let's cd over to let's cd over to Tam Rocks. And then let's touch file 1 and file 2. They're just gonna be empty files. And we'll do ls. We just have 2 empty files. That's all I want, just 2 empty files. Right? And now I'm gonna cd up. I'm now gonna say tar -c create file, and I want to call this tamrocks.tar, and then I want to put in the tam rocks. I want to put tam rocks right there, right? So now if I do a ls, you see I have a directory there right here. You can't see it's in blue, right? And then I have that tar file, right? Now I can see the contents of that by doing a -tf on tamrocks.tar. Should just list, the directory and the 2 files, and you can see that there, right? So now what they're saying right here is extract that information. So I can say make dir tam sucks, right? And what they did was, let me move that file over or copy. So if I do the cp command, tam rocks .tar over the tam sucks, and then we cd over to that one, right? And we see the file is there. I just copied it. Now I'm gonna do a tar dash x, and I like to use the v for verbose. And let me go back over here so you can see that. Here verbose, right? I wanna see you in action. And remember, the X is for extract, the V is for verbose, the F is for file. And then if I do double tab, it's gonna grab what's it's gonna grab what's in there, and I didn't set the hours. Everything spells on me. Either way it go, either way it go, you would get the extraction of what was in that tar file. And then here the P, the XP means preserve the permissions on those particular files. And we'll go through the rest of them. Create a compressed archive. This is where we do the GZ command. Like we can do GZ, we can do bzip2, right? And we can also do the XZ compression. So here's the GZ for gzip, bzip2, bz2, right? tar.bz2, and then compression again. Now let me say this: when you start compressing bigger uh files and so forth, you end up double compressing, and that'll cause the compression to be bloated. So instead of it being 1 gig when you do it, it may end up being 3 gigs because you double compressed, and so sometimes that doesn't work. And then here they're just showing again the dash T was in there for the tar gz. Here we're listing it again uh for the list, and then the TF again, we're gonna list that. And then they're gonna show you down here, well, how do I get the gzip and bzip and xz? How do I get just the contents? Show the view, the dash L option to view the uncompressed size and the compressed single archive file, right? And so they're showing you that there. And we'll spend some more time on that next week. The guided exercise is just like I showed you before. If we go here, we have the guided exercise, and then we're going to transfer files from using SFTP. We're probably going to also use SCP, right? Transfer with SCP. And I'll probably show rsync as well too. They're probably doing that here. Sync files between systems securely, and they're using the rsync command. So I'll probably run through the rsync and the SFTP. You're usually going to use rsync and SCP when you do that, right? And then let's scroll back up and let's hit chapter 13 one more time. Sync, and then you have a guided exercise in a lab. So we're gonna knock out 13 really quickly next week, and 14 we're gonna knock out packages, how to install, and they have an update. They're using DNF versus Yum. Now in Rail 8 we were still using Yum, but DNF was out. But now they're Yum is still linked to DNF, but DNF is now the package manager. And that's been coming for a while. Again, upstream, when you want to look and see what's coming, you may go play with Fedora to see what could potentially be coming into the enterprise version of Red Hat. And then here, they're just showing you the packages and so forth. So we're going to run through 13 and 14. Um, I probably could knock out 15. So 13, 14, 15. 13 we're almost done. 15, 14 shouldn't be too hard. 15 file system devices will probably start that. And then 16 is just a review of servers, like how to get help, what is in Red Hat Insights, and how to get use the customer portal, how to get help for your machine, and so forth. And the cockpit, we'll play with cockpit as well, and go from there. And we'll be done with this. So we'll be done with this in the next 2 weeks. We'll be done with all of Red Hat 124. The 134, I am going to highlight I'm gonna get all the classes in order and highlight them, so we can go through them. I'll probably uh add some context to them. We'll probably me and Dee will probably have to sit down and say, okay, this is chapter 1, this is chapter 10, so forth and so on, so y'all can get a feel for it. Because I didn't go in order for the 134 because I didn't feel the need that I didn't feel I needed to go in order for 134. The 134 class, let me see. Yeah, the 134 class, when you look at it, I started with chapter 10 because I wanted people to get access to installing Red Hat and what that looks like. It looks like they switched it up for, well, no, let's go here. Let's go real 9. Let's see what they got here. Come on.
Tam, I don't recall. Did you say that we needed to be setting it to Rail 9 at this point?
I think I'm not sure when Rail 8 ends in terms of the testing. I'm not sure. You probably have to do some scouring on that one. But Rail 9 works. Rail 8 and Rail 9, you could go look at the um release notes. And I encourage everybody to go look at release notes for Rail 8 and 9. So if you went to here and you looked at the release notes for Rail 9, they'll tell you what the differences are right here, what they took out, like see deprecated functionality, right? They'll tell you what they did, right? From Rail 8 to Rail 9. See the deprecated packages like IP tables, Python 3. Here's some known issues that they have. Rail 9 containers on Rail 7 host is not supported. Rail 9 containers on a Rail 7 host is not supported. It might work, but it's not guaranteed. Um, Graphic infrastructures, Red Hat roles, um, security, the different SCP is deprecated in Rail 9. They no longer use SCP in Rail 9. So those are kind of things that you may have a script out there that's using SCP that's been around for 4 or 5 years, and somebody go to run it, it's like, oh, it don't run. So now you got to go in and edit the bash script in order to figure out how to get that to work, or the Ansible playbook or something like that. All right, deprecated kickstart commands. If you're doing kickstarts, they got rid of this. Kernel. ATM is encapsulation is deprecated. File system storage is generated service removed in Rail 9. LVM2 activation generator. So these are things that you will want to know if you had to administer a box or something of that nature. What's going on here? Renaming network interfaces using IFCFG file fails. Init scripts package is not installed by default. All right. Check config package is not installed by default. So you need to use systemctl, and that's been out for a while, but these are the things that you want to know and things that you want to check out on every single release of Red Hat. What's new, what changed, so you know that if you got some scripts out there or somebody's creating some scripts, you know that, hey, that ain't gonna work because in the latest version of X, Y, and Z, they're not doing that anymore. So these are the new commands that you need to use and that are supported. So those are the things that I would look at when we're looking at stuff. And when they say technology preview, that's just like a release candidate. That's like it's like you when you go to the dealership and you test drive a car, and it's a new car or something like that, like the first like the Class A or Mercedes Benz Class A when they came out with those. Like everybody, everybody's like, hey, we're gonna put this out here. Use this at your own risk. Don't use in production, right? So that's what these when you look at technology previews, like, hey, we got some stuff we're previewing. It may or may not make it to the next round, depending on customer feedback. Bug fixes, meaning things that they fixed that were bugs lately, that were bugs in the last release they fixed. Some new features that are added, right? New features. And then they just talk about the content of it as well, and the repositories that are associated with Rail 9. What are those repositories, right? Here's the package manager. And then they talk about DNF, YUM/DNF, and they talk about it, right? So it's just a little something to get you to know what's going on with Rail 9 and what you can and cannot do, what packages went away, what commands went away as well too, right? So that's what we'll spend our time on for the next 2 weeks. And then at that point, I think everybody should be able to take the PE 124 exam. If you need more time to study, that's fine. No one's going to say you can't move on, because it's still all of the part of the RHCSA. Right. So 1 through 17 is the first one. This one is 1 through 12. And then they got an idea of what they're going over here. You're going to learn how to write bash scripts um, from scratch, how to schedule tasks, how to tune a system, how to use SE Linux. You're going to learn about storage stack, more storage, understanding the boot process, network security, and SE Linux. And then you'll install Linux. So what I did for this one, I went to chapter 10 first because I wanted you to learn how to install Linux, which includes how to work with storage, because you have to set up your actual partitions and when you're booting up, when you're actually installing Linux. So what better way than to set that up? And then you start learning about containers, and then it's done. You're ready for the exam, right? I'm going to start recording now.